Picture this. We are looking at two radically different futures for our world, and yet both of them are powered by the exact same artificial intelligence technology. The only difference? How that technology is controlled. It's a choice that makes these two futures look like entirely different planets. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the massive crossroads we are standing at right now, because the decisions we make today about how AI is shared, or, not shared, are going to shape our digital lives for decades to come. Let's look at future A. In this reality, a handful of giant corporations control absolutely all AI access. They set the prices, everything is locked behind strict paywalls, and it's heavily protected as trade secrets. So, the AI revolution happens, sure, but only a tiny fraction of the world truly gets to participate in it. But then, on the flip side, we have future B. Here, AI models are publicly accessible. A university student in Mumbai can download an AI and adapt it to speak Marathi perfectly. A local hospital in Kenya can build a diagnostic tool that runs on cheap smartphones. It is the exact same technology, but with radically different outcomes. And this, right here, is the core of the battle over open source AI. Section 1. A history lesson, Windows versus Linux. To really understand what's at stake, we need to rewind to the 90s. Back then, one proprietary operating system dominated almost every single personal computer on Earth. It was totally closed off. But then, this volunteer-built, totally free alternative emerged. You've probably heard of it, Linux. Today, Linux runs 96% of the world's top 1 million web servers. That is practically the entire internet. It forms the backbone of the web, and it powers every single Android phone in your pocket. Open source software created a world where startups could just build things without paying massive gatekeepers. So the question keeping tech leaders awake at night right now is, will artificial intelligence follow this exact same open path? Section 2. Breaking down the black box. Building modern AI isn't like coding a simple 90s app. It requires a level of computing power that rivals the GDP of small countries. So what do we actually mean when we say open source AI? Well, it really rests on three main pillars. First up, the weights. You can think of this as the brain. If you have the weights, you can run the model locally on your own machine. Second is the training code. This is basically the recipe. It provides true transparency into exactly how that model was built. And third, you need the license. This is the permission slip. True open source requires explicit legal permission to use, modify, and distribute the AI for absolutely any purpose. But the reality today is that we have a whole spectrum of access. Up at the top, you've got fully closed models. Huge companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google keep their tech firmly closed. It's a complete black box. You essentially just rent their intelligence through an API. Now in the middle, we have open weight models. Players like Meta with their Llama series or Mistral let you actually download the model weights, but they might restrict the underlying training recipe or limit commercial use. Finally, all the way at the other end, you have fully open models. Academic groups like Allen AI and Eleuther AI release absolutely everything for maximum transparency. And make no mistake, tech giants are placing multi-billion-dollar bets on opposite ends of this very spectrum. Section 3. OpenAI in action around the globe. Let's step out of Silicon Valley for a second. There are roughly 7,000 languages spoken around the world today. Now, the biggest closed AI models work phenomenally well in English and Mandarin, but they often completely fail when it comes to other languages. Because open models exist, local communities can actually adapt them. For example, a team in India fine-tuned Meta's open model so it works beautifully across 22 local Indian dialects. We're seeing projects in Africa doing the exact same thing for Swahili and Amharic. Big tech companies might not find it profitable to develop for these languages, but OpenAI makes it entirely possible for local communities to just build it for themselves. And it goes way beyond just language. Take a research hospital in Thailand, for instance. They used an open-source vision model to detect diabetic retinopathy directly from retinal scans. And the best part, they run it entirely on basic local laptops so they can strictly comply with Thai patient privacy laws. On top of that, hundreds of startups are out there building custom tools without going completely bankrupt, paying API fees to the big guys. And crucially, open models allow independent university researchers to run audits for safety and bias. They are holding tech accountable in a way that is literally impossible if you're just looking at a closed black box. Section 4. The Great AI Debate. Okay, so here is where things get incredibly heated. Both sides of this debate have deeply legitimate arguments.
The case against open source is heavily rooted in safety. I mean, think about it. If anyone can just download a wildly powerful AI, what stops a hostile actor from generating the perfect phishing email, conducting mass surveillance, or even designing novel bioweapons? It's a terrifying thought. But then, the case for open source argues that concentrating unauditable supreme power into the hands of just 2 or 3 massive corporations is, historically speaking, a total recipe for disaster. Supporters argue that open source is what drives innovation, ensures real transparency, and prevents monopolies from controlling all of human knowledge.
The core philosophical argument from the open source community really boils down to this one phrase: security through obscurity doesn't work. Their point is, if an AI has a dangerous vulnerability, it is vastly safer to have thousands of independent researchers working in the open to find and fix it. Actually, scratch that. It's not just safer, it's absolutely crucial, rather than just crossing your fingers and hoping a bad actor doesn't discover it first inside a closed, secretive system. Then there's the economics. We can call this the $100 million question, because training these frontier AI models literally costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Closed companies argue, quite fairly, that they have to protect this massive R&D investment so they can fund future breakthroughs. Meanwhile, companies like Meta are taking a completely different route. They're giving their models away for free. Why? Because their core business is platforms. If open source AI becomes the global standard, Meta profits from the massive ecosystem that gets built on top of it, and they don't have to micromanage every single piece of it. Section 5. Your role in the AI future. So what does this all mean for you? Well, your data is your choice. Whenever you use a closed AI system, that system is learning from your interactions, your personal questions, your writing style. It all feeds right back into corporate servers to help improve their models. But open source AI models, those can be downloaded and run entirely locally, right on your own device. That means your personal data stays exactly that, yours. It's a fundamental difference when we talk about the future of digital privacy. And you are actively shaping this landscape every single day. Every time you choose which AI assistant to use, which search engine to type into, or which smart home appliance to buy, you are voting with your attention and your data. Let's say you buy a new smart car. You should really be asking yourself, whose AI is actually running inside this thing? Can the manufacturer just change it overnight without telling me? Whether you're tinkering with a small model on your laptop or just using a translation app, you are an active participant in this ecosystem. We all really need to pay attention because the rules of the game are being written right now, literally as we speak. Governments all over the world are stepping in to tip the scales. Take the EU's AI Act. It actually includes special provisions that generally treat open source models much more favorably. Meanwhile, entirely different regulations are being heavily debated in Washington and Beijing. The global balance between open and closed models is actively being decided, and quite frankly, your local representatives need to hear from constituents who actually understand what's at stake here. At the end of the day, AI is frankly just too important to be controlled by a handful of companies sitting in a handful of cities. Now, open source definitely brings very real safety risks that absolutely must be taken seriously. But a world where a few corporations dictate exactly what AI can do, who gets access to it, and what it costs, that comes with massive historic risks of its own. The open source movement fundamentally transformed the internet for the better. Will we let it do the exact same thing for artificial intelligence? Should AI be open or closed? Next time you fire up an AI tool, just take a second to think about who actually controls it and what's happening to your data. Stay curious, everyone, and keep exploring.